Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, just for a moment, cast your mind back to Barcelona in February and pre-season testing. There is no denying that Ferrari were absolutely on it, and it looked like they were going to be the team to beat. That car looked so quick. Fast forward to Australia though, and they struggled to deliver on that promise, and come the end of the season they were a long way off Mercedes in the final standings and at times were even having to look over their shoulders at Red Bull. For me, 2019 really does feel like a season of missed opportunities for the Scuderia. Alright, yes, I know we shouldn't read too much into pre-season testing, but when you've got all these so-called experts telling us that everything points towards an epic year for Ferrari, you tend to go with it a little bit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Looking at the first half of the season, they really struggled to deliver big results and didn't actually win their first race of the year until Belgium. Quite the contrast to the last couple of seasons. I've got to say though, they did have their chances. Charles Leclerc looked on for the win in Bahrain before the car let him down. Sebastian Vettel was fighting hard to keep hold of the lead in Canada before making a mistake, getting a penalty, and of course despite crossing the line first being classified second. And Leclerc again looked in control in Austria, only for a fast Max Verstappen to catch him and pass him with about, 3 laps to go. Again, the opportunities were there. After the summer break, though, they really stepped up to the mark, finding pace almost out of nowhere. In fact, pace so out of nowhere that Mercedes and Red Bull believed there was something dodgy going on, which led to the story that rumbled on through the final stage of the season: were Ferrari cheating? So, officially, no. That's all I'm saying on that part, but the FIA still felt the need to issue a few technical directives to try and close off any loopholes for the remainder of 2019 and for 2020 as well. In the end though, Ferrari's pace did drop off compared to where it was immediately after the summer break, which was curious, but that wasn't the end of the controversy for them. Following the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Leclerc's car was found to be carrying 5 kilograms more fuel than the team initially declared to the FIA, with Ferrari putting it down to a measurement discrepancy. But despite their defence, if you like, they couldn't avoid a whopping €50,000 fine. Wow, pocket money for a team like Ferrari. Essentially, like I say, the year just wasn't without controversy for Ferrari, but then again, we seem to have some controversy around Ferrari just about every season, or it feels that way anyway. Let's move on from that though to some positives. I guess the Scuderia did pick up 3 wins in 2019 and actually only failed to get at least one driver on the podium on 4 occasions. So really not their worst season, but certainly a long way off their best and well off where they should have been. Sebastian Vettel, he didn't have the best of years either. He ended up picking up just 1 win, 2 pole positions, and was beaten in the championship by his new teammate. There were also more sloppy errors from him as well, with that spin in Bahrain that saw him drop down the order. The error, if you like, that resulted in the penalty in Canada, smashing into the back of Verstappen at Silverstone, that spin in Monza, and the way he chose to rejoin the track after that. And on top of all of that, hitting his teammate in Brazil, and that doesn't take into account things like ignoring team orders. Do you know, actually, the more I think about it, and when you look at what happened in, let's say, Brazil, for example, or all that messing about with the team orders in Russia, I think Leclerc had Seb rattled. I genuinely do. And weirdly, Vettel's 2019 sort of echoed the team's, a bit of a mess at times. Gotta say, though, it wasn't all doom and gloom for him. Prior to that error in Canada, he was driving brilliantly to fight off Lewis Hamilton, and I think we can all agree it was great to watch those two fighting right at the front once again. His drive in Germany to go from the back of the grid to second was exceptional and kind of the perfect way to bounce back after what happened at the same track last season. And his win in Singapore was so good, and you know what? So needed as well. Alright, he didn't take another win after that, but it certainly seemed to give him a bit of a confidence boost, a bit of a lift. The thing is though, I can sit here and list these positives, but ultimately, he was beaten by Leclerc, his new young teammate, and there were shades of 2014 in it all. But statistically, Seb lost 11.9 in quali, although it must be said the average deficit to Leclerc was only 0.07 of a second. He did win 11.9 in the races though, but still, he ended the year behind in terms of points, scoring 240 versus Leclerc's 264. I have to be honest. I could lie through my teeth, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be honest. Despite a rough run of it, I did not expect him to be beaten by Leclerc this year. I really did not. I am just really disappointed with how it's gone for him this year. Of course, yeah, he has himself to blame for a fair bit of it, but the car wasn't great either in the first half of the year, so were those errors caused by him having to almost overdrive the car? Or was 2019 just another year that showed he wasn't the driver he once was? And that's something, a topic if you like, that I might explore later in the winter, maybe in January at some point. But to wrap this bit up, the fact of the matter is I expected so much more from him this year, and he just hasn't been good enough. Yeah, he's had his positive moments and his really good drives, but frankly he's been shown up by his vastly more inexperienced teammate. He hasn't driven like a 4-time world champion for much of the season. And all of that is coming from someone who defends him admittedly way too much. I hope he sticks around long enough to bounce back and show everyone that he's still got what it takes to fight with the best. However, although I don't expect that he will, I wouldn't be totally surprised if he decided to call it a day this winter, and I'd be even less surprised if he announced that he was walking away at the end of 2020. Hand on heart though, I really hope he doesn't. I want to see Seb back to his best before he calls it a day. As for Charles Leclerc, he has been statistically the better of the two Ferrari boys, but pushing all the stats aside for a moment, I also think he's delivered this year, and he's shown that he is the one that the Scuderia should get behind going forward. Yeah, of course there have been times this season where he's demonstrated a lack of maturity, almost petulance at times, and there's no denying that mistakes have been made, costly mistakes in some cases. You look at his quali crash in Baku as one example, his retirement from Monaco, although it must be said, he wouldn't have been in that position and had to go aggressive had the team not screwed him over in quali, but anyway. His crash in Germany as well, that's got to be mentioned. He could well have been in the fight for the win, but he stuck it in the wall. I will stick my usual German Grand Prix caveat in at this point though. I personally don't think any driver should get too much stick for binning it in that race because it was just utter madness, and even the best and most experienced drivers were making mistakes. On top of some of those mistakes, he also had a couple of moments of controversy to deal with, most notably the way he defended against Hamilton in Italy, or that's the one that sticks in my mind anyway. Some of those moves, there's no denying, were right on the line, and to be fair, that is what drivers should be doing, pushing it to the limit. So as long as they're on the line, it's okay, but they were right on the line. And I still think his late move to defend through Curva Grande was actually over that line and was extremely dangerous. Just imagine how big that accident could have been. And yeah, at the end of the day, the stewards didn't penalise him for that, but I would like to think that somebody sat him down afterwards and said, you know, that's not acceptable. And I don't want, by the way, that to sound like I'm trying to take away from his phenomenal drive in Monza. And those scenes at the end were incredible. I've talked a lot about pressure when it comes to Leclerc, and I'm going to do it again shortly, but just imagine all of the eyes on him that weekend, the pressure he'd have been feeling from the Tifosi. Great drive. But going back to his mistakes and his aggressive defence, I get that he should face some criticism. However, it is very easy to forget that this is only his second season in F1 and his first with Ferrari. When you take that into account and think about the pressure he must have felt coming into 2019, I do believe he can be cut some slack. Again, I'm not saying he should be immune from criticism, not for a second. I'm just saying that he's not massively experienced when it comes to F1, and in many ways, actually kind of like Verstappen had to. He's having to make his mistakes under the spotlight. The point is, if he was still at Alpha, I really doubt much would be made of any of his errors this year. Of course, they'd be picked up on, but I don't think people would kick off the way they have. All things considered though, I think he's had a very strong first season with Ferrari. 2 wins, 10 podiums, 264 points, again beating his 4-time world champion teammate in the process, and picking up 7 pole positions. More than any other driver on the grid, and that is quite an achievement. So yeah, absolutely an impressive season, but there is still a lot for him to learn. However, he has, for me at least, shown that he is surely future World Championship winning material, and quite honestly, I cannot bloody wait for the next few years of Leclerc versus Verstappen. And do you know what? If the likes of Sainz, Norris, Russell and Co can get in on it, we are in for some seriously good seasons. This year has really felt like the changing of the guard, and that is strongly evident at Ferrari. Where Vettel has struggled, Leclerc has come out and delivered the results for them. As much as I respect Seb, I'm going to go back to what I said at the start of this part. I 100% think the team should be putting everything behind Leclerc next year. I really do. Overall, though, I think Vettel will be very disappointed with how things have gone in 2019. Leclerc will also have some disappointment, but can be ultimately very happy with how much of his season has gone, in terms of his performances anyway. But Ferrari have surely got to get it right next year because Mercedes will likely stay strong, and with Red Bull resurgent as well, they are going to need to bring their A game, and so are both of their drivers. That is it though for this video, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts on Ferrari's season down in the comment section, and also let me know how you feel Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc did in 2019. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime, don't forget that you can of course follow me over on social media, and all of the links you need for that are in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.